Welcome to the road to 1 million US dollars. Let's get right into the Bitcoin chart for today, starting on the 1 day time frame for Bitcoin, because currently we are reaching critical resistance, sitting at around 88.7K, while we are still seeing this bullish divergence play out in the charts. In the case that you don't know, a bullish divergence is when you have lower lows in the Bitcoin price and higher lows in the RSI momentum indicator. And typically this points towards us getting a break from all of this bearish price action that we have been seeing here recently, either in the form of some choppy sideways price action or potentially some bullish momentum on the 1 day time frame. However, since confirming this bullish divergence at about 78, 79K, we have seen that bullish momentum so far. In fact, it led to about a 12% move to the upside so far. However, one thing I noticed earlier today is that while we are trading in here, everyone was still kind of bearish on Bitcoin, assuming we would make lower lows in the Bitcoin price. And only now people are flipping extremely bullish on Bitcoin while we are reaching this critical resistance. Now, to be clear, I am not saying that it is impossible for us to break this and resume higher from there. In fact, I have been bullish on Bitcoin this entire time. And yes, I am still bullish on Bitcoin. However, as we are reaching this is actually the time to be a little bit more cautious until we have actually confirmed a break above this level. And in fact, even better would be if we get a confirmed break above this 0.382 Fibonacci level sitting at around 89.4K. Until then, I actually think it makes more sense to be trading the lower timeframes for Bitcoin. This is not a time to be entering into a massive long position like a big swing trade or something. Like I said, because we are reaching this critical level of resistance, this is actually the time to be trading the lower time frames, which I will be covering in just a second in this video here. Before I move on to those lower time frames, we actually need to look at the RSI momentum indicator first, because we are still breaking out from this massive downtrend that Bitcoin has been in for a very long time here. And this has been one of the bullish confirmation signals that we've been looking for on the channel here for quite some time. Of course, recently we broke out above this and we basically just saw breakout, retest, resumption from this trend line. And the next bullish confirmation for me to expect that we are going to see much higher price action for Bitcoin would be if we get a daily candle close above this descending line of resistance. Now guys, if you want to learn the basics of technical analysis and leverage trading in general, so you can take advantage of moves like this, then go to rt1m.com, where you can learn all of this completely for free. Because I've created a free trading course of over 1 hour long, where I teach you all of the basics so you can get started as well. Now let's move on to the lower time frames for Bitcoin. Currently on this 4-hour time frame, we had a touch of this resistance sitting at around 88.8K. And as you can see, we are still in this ascending channel pattern. So technically, Bitcoin is just trending up over time so long as we are inside this pattern. The most bullish thing that could possibly happen right now is a break above that resistance on the 1 day time frame, as well as a breakout above this ascending channel, because at that point we are going to look for much higher resistance to the upside. But until then, there are some things to take into consideration on this lower time frame. For example, we are in deep overbought territory on the RSI, and typically when this is the case, there is limited room to the upside in the short term here on this time frame. So usually what you will see is the RSI start to reset back down a little bit. And for example, if we reset down a bit, but then actually break out of that ascending channel pattern, then you will see Bitcoin move into overbought territory once again. But for example, if you see a rejection from that level of resistance, then likely we are going to see the RSI reset back all the way to around this 50 level here. And this is just something that we see over and over again. For example, here, overbought territory, reset back down. And here again, overbought, reset back down, overbought, reset back all the way to oversold territory here. Well, obviously I can keep repeating this over and over again. All of you guys who have been following me for some time know that this just happens over and over again in the markets. And therefore, I just wanted to have shared this as a bit of a warning signal here in the immediate short term, especially as we are getting closer and closer to these critical levels of resistance. In yesterday's video, I also talked about this important level of resistance that was actually broken. And like I said, if we got a candle close above this level, likely that would just look like breakout above, retest, flipping it into a level of support, and likely we would see resumption from there. And safe to say, we did get that resumption today because obviously we got a 4% move to the upside here. Same thing on the 2-hour time frame, breaking the downtrend, breaking this resistance, flipping this resistance into support and blasting off from there. So basically just the same as this 4-hour time frame. And lastly, for the lowest time frame that I typically analyze on the channel here, the 30-minute time frame, you can see that we are basically just trading above this ascending trend line. And yes, so long as we're holding above this, Bitcoin is just trading upwards at a pretty steep rate. But keep in mind that on the higher time frames, there's all kind of resistance here. So therefore, if we start seeing that rejection, and then on the 30-minute time frame, we are breaking down below this ascending trend line, then expect a bit of short-term downside there as the RSI is resetting towards the downside. And again, that's why I'm saying it makes sense to be trading the lower time frames, because that's where I think you will get most of the clarity of what is actually going on in the market at the moment, where on the 1-day time frame, it is a little bit less clear right now as we are reaching this critical level of resistance. But on the 1-day time frame, yes, I am still bullish on Bitcoin, so long as this bullish divergence continues to keep playing out and does not invalidate by, for example, trading below this ascending trend line in the RSI. Moving on to the Bitcoin liquidation heat maps. First of all, on this 1-month time frame, notice how we just took out a big pocket of liquidity here, setting at around 87,000 US dollars. And yes, there is even liquidity as high as about 89,000, 89.5K. If we start breaking out above those critical levels of resistance, then there will also be liquidity at, for example, 91K and even as high as about 96,000 in the Bitcoin price once again. But of course, guys, keep in mind that on the lower time frames for this Bitcoin liquidation heat map, for example, the 1-week time frame, we are now at a 1-week high, and therefore most of the liquidity is going to be towards the downside. An even better picture will be this 3-day time frame, where you can see there is still some liquidity at around 89K, but in the short term, most of the liquidity is to the downside, as we have been pumping for some time here. So there's liquidity at 87.5K, 86.4K, and even lower at 85.5K. So again, if you start seeing a rejection, you start seeing a breakout below that critical level of support on the lower time frames, potentially we could be targeting this liquidity here after that. Keep in mind that, of course, nothing I say in my videos is financial advice. I'm simply sharing with you what I'm seeing in the charts, and you can do with that information what you like. Before I close off today, again, make sure to check out the free trading course on rt1m.com, where I have over an hour of educational content completely for free. And I basically just teach you the basics of technical analysis, as well as just leverage trading in general. Either way, this has been today's market update. Thank you very much for watching once again, and I will see you tomorrow in the next one.